My boss tells me to jump into a trash compactor to fix it. So I maliciously comply. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk on YouTube and hit the bell for notifications. My dad was visiting us for Christmas, and as usual, I got him to share some more stories about his youth. And he shared a time where he used malicious compliance to not only shut up one of his bosses, but also to get him into trouble. Many years ago, back when Dad was a college student, he earned extra money for living expenses by working in a car manufacturing plant. The state at the time was a closed shop, which meant you had to join the union in order to work unless you were in an executive position. One of the rules said union set up at Dad's workplace was that no employee could work certain positions unless they had been trained for it. This included positions such as forklift operator and trash compactor. This was included in the contract and was a no-break rule. Enter George the manager. Unlike many of the other stories here, George was actually a nice fellow. But to quote Joseph from It's a Wonderful Life, he has the IQ of a jackrabbit and didn't always think things through. One Saturday afternoon, Dad came into work when George pulled him aside.
I need you to do me a favor, son. The trash compactor's jammed and I need someone to crawl in and unjam it. You're the smallest of us, so it shouldn't be a problem for you.
Now, not only had Dad not been trained for loading the compactor, but even he knew crawling in there would be a dumb idea. George, I haven't been trained for this position. George got all flustered and told him,
just do it.
Dad then got an idea for some malicious compliance. I'll do it, but is it okay if I ask one of the other guys to spot me and make sure I don't get squashed?
Yeah, that's fine. Just make sure the job's done.
Dad then headed to his union shop leader, Kenny. Like George, Kenny was a decent fellow, but was very protective of his workers. Dad told Kenny what had happened and asked him to spot him. Cue Kenny turning at least 5 shades of purple before storming into George's office. Dad told me the whole floor went silent as Kenny unloaded on George for trying to make a poor college kid do something so dangerous, and that this would be recorded and he'd get written up. Kenny stormed out, leaving a frightened-looking George quaking in his steel-toed boots. The compactor ended up getting fixed without someone crawling into it, and George always asked if people were trained for positions before asking them to do it. Yeah, that's a really stupid idea all around. You don't just climb into a trash compactor. That's just asking for trouble. And your boss actually ordering you to do so is really ignorant of him. Good thing Kenny was around to set him straight. I think everyone needs a Kenny in their workplace to make sure stupid stuff like this doesn't happen. Clearly, Kenny got results, 'cause it never happened again. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below. And don't forget to subscribe. My family cut me off when they found out I don't want to have kids. Okay, so straight to it. My husband and I, both in our early 30s, have been together for over a decade and have made the decision to not have kids. I like kids. I have nieces and nephews. We just don't want them for our own reasons. He had a vasectomy, which only a few people know about. Our families are aware we don't want kids, as they've asked this before during major life events. Our wedding, for instance. We recently bought a 3-bedroom home with a nice yard and a nice area. Excited to show our new home to family and friends since it was a major upgrade from our previous home. We hosted a housewarming party. During the party, one of my sibling in-laws, Alex, made a few indirect comments about all this space, and kids would love it in our house. Eventually, they asked point blank when we were having kids. I made a lighthearted joke about it, which is my go-to for this question. Well, I like sushi too much to have to give it up for a pregnancy. Plus, not drinking for pregnancy and breastfeeding? No thanks. I tried to make it very lighthearted and laugh it off. Most people just laughed along. That seemed to anger Alex, and I was told, "Children are a joy, and a good mother puts her kids before everything else." I agreed, children are a joy. I like spending time with my nieces and nephews. And obviously, I can't be a good mom if I choose sushi over kids. So I just won't be a mom. I'm still just trying to brush it off in a gentle way, because I'm not trying to start a fight by telling them to stop asking in front of everyone. because I know my tone will be seen as rude and abrasive. We move on, but Alex is still annoyed and making little comments in their group about how flippant I am about it and how when it finally happens, then I'll understand. My husband heard this and said jokingly,
"Well, if she gets pregnant, that'll be a problem for the divorce lawyers."
That seemed to tick them off even more, but they stopped. With holidays coming up, we haven't been invited to Alex's usual Halloween bonfire. When my husband spoke to his parents, they told him Alex was annoyed we were so careless and callous about our child-free status and to say what we did. And they realized we had taken permanent steps to ensure we never had kids. And that we know they had to do IF to have kids. And we're jerks to just not care. I feel bad because they did do IF and lots of fertility treatments to have their kids. And even then, they still had a few miscarriages. I can't imagine wanting kids and struggling to have them and then dealing with miscarriages. But at the same time, I'm so tired of justifying living my life how I want. Am I the jerk? I mean, that's your decision if you guys don't want to have kids. I can understand why he might have felt a little bit salty about you guys acting as casually about it as you did, but at the same time, this is an awkward question that you guys have an answer to that not everyone's happy with. It's something you guys are constantly having to dodge and justify. It's understandable that this is the approach you would take by default, trying to keep the situation more casual so that it doesn't escalate. That really sucks that they had to go through all that to have kids, but that doesn't make your decision to not have kids any less valid. Like our original poster said, they're living their life how they want. No one can tell them whether they are or are not supposed to have kids. My uncle passed away, and when we were cleaning out his stuff, I found something that's value was way beyond what I ever would have thought. I lost my uncle this past fall. He was the odd duck of the family, and I loved him very much. We had lots in common. He introduced me to many things that I loved to do. He was a high-paid lawyer and was terrible with money. The rest of my family is poor, so I grew up hearing tales of his monetary misdeeds. For example, he used his bonus one year to buy a condo in Key West, only to lose it because he didn't pay his taxes. He was so bad at adulting, he never had a phone line for long because he'd forget to pay the bill, so his company gave him a cell phone that they paid for, which was unheard of at that time. There are many of other stories, but let's get on to why we're here. I was asked by my mother if I wanted any of his books from his summer bungalow. Not as grand as it sounds, more of a high-end trailer park. You own the house but pay a lot fee and get to have a beach house on Long Island but not have to pay $1 million plus for it. I could not let books go to the dumps, so I went with her with a ton of bags and filled up my truck. She told me to take anything I wanted or else it was going in the dumpster. They wanted the place empty when they went to sell it. Most of the non-book related stuff was junk. I found some pictures that I kept and a few other odds and ends. One of those odds and ends is the heart of this story. It was a smallish red box with a brass plaque. It had a small bottle of booze inside. I should have known it was not a normal bottle of booze because it was in a glass case with some other beach-themed bric-a-brac. So fast forward to last night, I pull out the box and after a hard day, think I'll give it a try. I'm not much of a drinker. I'll have a glass of scotch every few months, but that's about it. No beer or wine unless I use it for cooking. My lack of experience with alcohol comes into play here. I sit down and get out 2 glasses, one for the wife because it's good to share, crack open the case and pour us each a little taste. The first sip was when I knew I had screwed up. It was way too smooth, like zero burn at all. I finish my glass and put the glass stopper in the top to save the rest for later. As I'm sitting there letting the warmth radiate out from my belly, I grab my phone to see if I can find more of this excellent booze. I think I've just added one more thing I can accredit my uncle for turning me on to. I just drank a $600 Louis VIII cognac. I start freaking out. I frantically search, hoping to find out that please God let this not be what came up on the search. Yeah, no, even the empty crystal bottle and case sells for $100 on eBay. There are so many things I would rather spend $600 on than a drink. I even had a nightmare about it last night. And that's how things went when you were my uncle. A $600 bottle of booze hidden among junk. Thanks for one last wild ride, Uncle. Okay, I guess so. The issue here is our original poster would have sold the bottle otherwise. I mean, personally, I'd just be really happy with that really nice bottle. Like he said, he doesn't drink all that often, so that'll last him quite a while. I would just consider that one more gift from my weird uncle. Sure, it might suck in hindsight when you could have had $600 in your pocket, but hey, you're at where you're at, just enjoy it. And think about your uncle whenever you do. HOA that I'm not even a part of gets upset that I put my Christmas lights up early. I've had a previous experience with this group, as I live in a neighborhood that has an HOA, but I was there before the rest of the houses were built and before they formed this group. I'm not a member in any way, and that's been verified by a real estate attorney. So anyway, apparently they have a rule over how many lights you can put up and when the earliest date is that you can put them up. The woman who I deal with the most when I upset them came by on November 30th and told me my lights were against the policy and that I was not allowed to have as many lights up as I do. I told her that we've been over this before, that I'm in no way beholden to their policies and I don't care. I told her that out of respect to the people in the neighborhood that I did like, that I wasn't going to go full Clark Griswold on my house, but that my nieces and nephews loved the lights, so I'd be putting up a fair amount. I also told her that I didn't care about their rules that the lights could only be on during certain hours, and that once done putting them up on the 30th, I would likely turn them on and leave them on till Christmas. She told me that me breaking the rules upset other members, and that I should respect their rules even if I don't follow them, because I technically live in the neighborhood. She offered me a flyer which apparently had their rules for lights. I tossed it in the trash and told her to just get off my property. I probably could have entertained some of what she asked, but I've just had enough of them. No, I completely understand where our original poster is coming from. You're not obligated to follow any of their rules. You're not a member of their little society. You're allowed to do whatever you want on your property. If you want to completely plaster your house in lights, then that's your prerogative. They really can't say anything about it. Sure, they might not like it, and sure, maybe they're used to getting their way, but that doesn't mean they're going to get their way with you. You guys have already been over how you feel about the HOA previously. You'd think they know to just let you do your own thing. There's nothing they can do about it. There's no point in walking up to your door and trying to tell you what to do with your property. It's only going to make the relationship worse. My power-hungry manager starts lecturing me over being 1 minute late. So I did my apprenticeship with this company, and after the 3 years, I moved to a standard IT position at a plant near my home. The first 6 months went great, and the communication with colleagues and the boss were good until one day. He wanted to talk to me about a few things, but one stuck out like a sore thumb. He asked me to pull my timesheet up where all of our log-in and log-out work times are stored. He told me to be on time, because 3 times I was late in the last 2 months. He would be checking it regularly and would be in touch if it happens again. The funny thing is, I was 1 minute late on these days because of traffic reasons. I drive about 25 minutes to a half hour, and I also stayed longer on those days. So he told me to better plan for it, and he wants me to be here exactly at 6. I was furious about this. It seemed like such a useless complaint, and just a way of keeping me under control and to mark him as the boss. Normally I would come in at around 5:50 when work starts at 6 and leave around the 1:50 mark when work ends at 1:45. And paid overtime starts 31 minutes after closing time. I would start working before 6 with easy work like mail and stuff, and worked a bit overtime because I had to pack up. Now, I just drink coffee and stand around while looking at my phone until it's exactly 6 o'clock and I log in. No minutes early, no minutes late. He wants me to work exactly at 6? Okay, I will. But I'll also leave when my time is done. I also pack my things neatly so I can log out at exactly 1:45, and I don't stay longer because I need to be on time. Overall, he lost work time with useless power tripping. He never mentioned the change because he can't do anything about it. Again, they're only looking at it from their point of view and what you're inconveniencing them on. not how you're actually going above and beyond to help the company. 1 minute? Really? That's what this conversation is about? Surely managers realize that this argument over 1 minute and the waste of company time is just not worth it. What you're trading off for that 1 minute of productivity is the respect of your employees, which I would say is way more valuable. It's a shame upper management never sees it that way, though. Fake friends try to take advantage one too many times. Today, I thought I'd share the story of Sam. Sam does not make friends easily. He's not good at small talk, and to make things worse, he's suspicious of people who are friendly for the reasons that follow. Sam made a lot of money at a young age. I'm not going to say exactly what he did because I don't want him tracked down, but he made something that made him rich. Being a smart guy, Sam invested most of the money in long-term investments that will pay out a reasonable amount each month until he dies. So he doesn't live a rich life, but he never has to work again. A few years after his windfall, he got bored and decided to go back to college. There, he met some people who enthusiastically pursued friendship with him. Making friends with them was so easy that, for a while, he was happy. He didn't find out until later that they had learned about his wealth by searching for his name online. It started small. Occasionally, one of them would be short some money and ask Sam for a loan, then blow it off when he asked for it back. Sam started to get concerned, but he didn't want to lose his new friends. Then, they all decided to go on a vacation together to a well-known amusement park. They pressured him into paying for the tickets, flight, and hotel rooms. Sam tried to explain that month to month, he wasn't getting enough money to pay for all this stuff, but they swore to him that he would be repaid and ramped up the social pressure on him. He eventually caved and took an advance on his next month's payment to pay for the vacation. Then, as if all that wasn't bad enough, they ditched him for most of the vacation. Whenever he tried to hang out with them, they told him, "We made some plans to meet these other guys," or "We already ate." By the end of the vacation, Sam was forced to face the fact that they weren't really his friends. Sam was angry, and he had an idea while reading the local news. A local restaurant had created a dish that cost $1,000. It was mostly a publicity stunt, copying another restaurant that had gained a lot of publicity by doing the same thing. But Sam understood that his friends saw him as their ticket to the rich life. Sam started making sure that friends saw mentions of this overpriced dish several times a day. Eventually, it worked. They started suggesting to him that they all go and try this dish. Sam made it clear to them that he was still paying off the vacation, and although he could get together enough cash to buy it for himself, he could not pay for their meals. They all said they understood, although they looked a little worried. He never overheard them saying it, but he knew they confused being a millionaire with having $1 million sitting in your checking account. The day of the meal came and they all ordered this $1,000 dish. The restaurant's manager came out and asked them if they were certain they had the funds to purchase this meal. Each of them confirmed that they had the money and were ready to pay. Sam can't remember what was in the meal, but he says it tasted salty and slimy, like French fries soaked in water. As the end of the meal grew near, the friends seemed to be more and more nervous. At the end of the meal, everyone handed over their debit cards. Sam's cleared, and every other card was declined. They turned to Sam, saying things like, "I don't know why it was declined. Can you help us out?" One of them just slid her bill over to Sam with a smug grin. Sam replied honestly, "I don't have enough money in my checking account to cover your bills." He stood up and started to walk out. One of them called out, "You can't just leave us like this." He replied, "I made some plans to meet up with other guys." Sam left because he didn't want anyone else to try to make him pay for their meals. He only found out afterwards that the cops were called by the manager. The friends weren't arrested, but a police report was filed and they had to go to court. They had to pay both the restaurant bill and a large fine. And because they were in legal trouble, the university put them on probation. The best part, however, is that Sam told as many people as possible that they had tried to run out on a bill, which is the crime that they were going to court and on probation for. Sam figured that most people wouldn't want to hear the story, and he was embarrassed that he had been taken in. So he simplified it and implied that they had simply tried to sneak out of the restaurant. To their fellow college students, this was enough to turn the friends into pariahs. Yikes, that really sucks. I think a lot of people can relate to this story. You finally see an opportunity to have some friends when you don't really have many, and you're willing to go above and beyond what a lot of people might do to try and keep those friends. Even when those red flags are going off, you don't want to believe them, because you desperately want to hang on to that relationship. Unfortunately, a relationship like that is entirely a one-way street. There's nothing in it for you, and everything for them. They're not spending time with you because they want to. They just want you to pay the bill. The vacation is the perfect example. They had you pay for everything and then ditched you while you were there. I can totally see why that's the final straw. I don't see why this group of friends would think that you would ever want to spend time with them again, let alone pay for stuff for them. At that point, you've been pretty blatant that you have no interest in our friendship and just my wallet. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories. Or if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out Easy Mode. If you like Am I the Jerk, give Am I the Genius a shot. Everything linked in the description.